Hi everyone, Jessica here, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to be creating a kind of planner folio. It's going to be decorated for Christmas, and I think this is going to be a really great little planner for you guys to create. It's going to have this A5 writing pad in there. We're going to do some pockets, you can keep like receipts and things. So the idea is that when you're planning Christmas, whether that's gifts, cards that you're going to be sending, you know, food you need to buy, like shopping lists and things like that, I think this is going to be a really neat little folio to sort of keep everything in. I did see something similar on May Made It. This was a little while ago. Unfortunately I couldn't go back and find the video just because she's got so many videos on her channel. This is kind of my version, obviously being here in the UK, using an A5 writing pad, and we're going to decorate it as well in this video using the Paper Boutique Winter Gnomes. I've pulled this out a couple of times now and I've still just got absolutely tons left. I've got the 12 by 12 paper pad, and of course then the inserts, the 8 by 8, the all the bits and pieces to go with it as well. So we're going to walk through the steps on how to make the actual folio itself. So let me move these out the way. So to begin with, this is the pad that I've picked up. So this is a refill pad that I got from Wilkinson's here in the UK. This is a slightly bigger pad, obviously being A5. So the folio that I'm going to be creating in today's video, I'm going to be using A3 cardstock because I don't have any 12 by 12 in the 300 GSM. So I'd want it to be sturdier, obviously, to hold this big notepad. It's got 160 pages in it. So I've made mine out of A3, but I'm actually going to do a little bonus video showing you how you can create the same, it's ever so slightly different, and obviously the measurements are slightly different, but how you can create it from 12 by 12. So I will link to that video as well. But yeah, I really wanted to make it nice and sturdy, so again I wanted to use the 300 GSM, which I only had in A3. So the actual measurements of this book itself, so the actual measurements is obviously A5. I'm just going to give you a real rough. It's just slightly over 5 3/4 by just over 8 3/4, and the thickness on it is just over 1/4 inch. So again, that's very rough measurements there for that. So because of the size of it, yeah, we've had to make it sort of slightly bigger. The 12 by 12 papers to decorate it is going to be really what you want to use. I'm actually going to be, so I can use some of the other papers that I have got in that Paper Boutique kit. I'm actually going to need to mat and layer it because it's ever so slightly too short for me to do just the papers as the decoration. So it's going to be really sturdy because I'm matte and layering it as well. The cardstock doesn't actually need to be 300 GSM because we're adding in an additional layer in there as well. So obviously sort of just using what you've got. That Paper Boutique is the actual only Christmas 12 by 12 paper pad I had, and again I really just, rather than buying something new just to make this, I thought I'd be better off using what I've already got. So yeah, these are I think I picked this up, it was about £1.30, something like that, and the idea with this folio is going to be that you can replace this. So the actual folio you could use year after year after year, and then you could just replace your writing pad. So let's get into the measurements and scoring and things. So for this folio, so I have already cut and scored because I just needed to kind of work out exactly what I needed and the measurements and things, but we're going to go back over it. So for this particular folio, it's going to have a space for the writing pad, and it's going to have three pockets on here as well. I believe it was 3, it was either 2 or 3. So I needed to use 2 A3 sheets, again just to get it where, you know, it closed as it should and everything like that. Again, making the 12 by 12, which will be in that separate video, I think that was just 2 sheets of 12 by 12, maybe plus a little extra for pockets and things like that. So we're going to start off with our first piece, which we've got here. Now I don't usually like to use sort of not silly measurements, but I like to stick within 1/4 of an inch increments if I can with this, because of the thickness of the actual pad itself. I've had to do 5/8 of an inch for our spine here. So some of the measurements are you know, we've got like a 1/16 of an inch, and we've got 1/8 of an inch in here as well. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you, and I hopefully put at the bottom of this video the measurements and things, so you can make this as well. But I'm going to show you just the easiest way that I do it using the equipment that I've got. So again, this started off as an A3 sheet of cardstock. Now A3, to cut it down in my big 12 by 12 trimmer, it didn't obviously work because it's longer than 12 inches. So I did happen to score mine first and then fold it and trim it. So again, I'm just going to show you the exact way that I have scored and cut this, and hopefully that'll work for you guys too. There's 2 ways that you can do this. It depends. I've only got just over a 6-inch score tool here. Obviously, if you've got a 12-inch score tool, you can do all of the measurements here, but I need to kind of do a little bit of fiddling and moving around so I can actually use this scored board. But we're going to start off on the left hand side. So we're going to score at 2 inches, which is going to be our opening flap. Then we're going to score at 2 5/8, and that's going to be our first spine. So I'm just going to carry on reading you the measurements as if you have a 12 by 12 board. So the next one you're going to do is going to be 8 13th 16th of an inch. Again, I'll write this underneath. And that, which is going to be this one here, and then the next one is going to be 9 3/8 of an inch, which again is then going to give you your spine, and then you'll be left here with 6 1/4 inch space. Now I'm going to show you and give you the measurements of how I need to do it, because I've got a smaller board here. Again, hopefully this isn't too confusing for you guys, but we're going to do the first two the same. That's 2 inches and 2 5/8. Along the 2 5/8, we're going to just fold it there, and then we're going to butt that back up to the 0, and then we're going to score at 6 1/4 inches just here. Then what I'm going to do is along the 6 1/4 that we just scored, I'm going to fold it again, and I then, hopefully I can show you, again just butt that score line right up into that 0, so make sure it's nice and flush in there. As you can see there, it's right in there, and then I'm going to score at 5/8 of an inch here. So that's how I do it, again, because I have the smaller board. But what you want to end up with is a 2-inch panel, a 5/8 of an inch panel, a 6 1/4 inch panel, a 5 1/8 inch spine, should I say, rather than panel, and then a 6 1/4 inch panel there. Now we need to trim this down, so this end piece you've got here is going to be longer than what we need it to be, and we want this panel to be 6 1/4 inches. So all I do for that is I'm going to bring this last score mark we made here, line it up with 6 1/4, and then just trim that down there. And that is going to be the sort of base for our folio. So you could leave it here if you want to. We're going to add just some extra pockets and things, but you could absolutely leave this one here. So this middle section of the 6 1/4 inch is going to be where our pad is going to sit, and then it's going to close up just like so. So you can have this one way or the other, so opening this way or opening this. I think most of my folios I open this way, so I'm not sure which way I'm going to do it just yet, but obviously you do what works for you. But this is essentially, could just be a book in itself, just as it is. You could put a little pocket in here, so they have, you know, places to slip their notes into. But yeah, you could absolutely leave it at this if that's what you want to do, but we're going to add that second piece in just for some extra storage in here. So let's pop this one to one side. The next one I'm going to bring in obviously is going to be smaller. Again, I did make this from A3 again. I don't think I talked about the height of this. So the height of this is 8 3/4 inches. And again, that'll fit the book in there nicely. So let's look at the measurements for this piece. So for this one, you're going to start off at 3.5 inches. And again, if you've got a 12 by 12 inch board, you're going to do 9 6/8 to give you this one here. Now, for mine, again, because I've only got just over 6 inches, I would then do 3.5 inch, fold along that line, put that back up to the 0, and then I'm going to do 6 1/4 again. So we have then that panel inside here. Now this is going to be obviously A3 in length for me, for what I've got here. So I do need to trim this down. So for this trim, keeping the paper in the same orientation, I want this piece here to be 2.5 inches. So again, all I'm going to do is just butt up my score line. Let's bring it down. I'm going to butt up my score line to 2.5 inches and just trim that there. That will then leave me a panel that we've chopped off from the end, but I actually want to use this inside the book. It's going to be placed here as a pocket. So for this one, I trimmed this down to 3 3/4 inches, and then again, the height being the same is 8 3/4 inches. So that will give us that piece inside. So that is, we do need to create one more pocket, but we can do that when we sort of put the folio together. But that is all of the scoring and cutting. You can go ahead then and burnish all of your score marks. So again, we'll end up with something that looks like this. So I'm going to see, when it comes to doing our magnets, I might need to just shave a tiny amount off this piece here because we do want that to sit really nice and flush. And then we've got this piece here. So if we open up this panel, I've got my opening flap, 2-inch flap on the right hand side. So for this one, so normally what I would do is stick this little flap here to the back, but I don't want to have that seam on the outside. I've decided that I don't like that. So what I'm actually going to do is take this 6 1/4 inch panel here, and I'm going to glue this 2.5 inch panel to it to create a little side pocket there. And then what I've got then is a flap. This piece is going to go on the inside as a pocket, and we're going to have this as a closure as well. So then you can open it and keep things like receipts, things you don't want to have fall out. So we're going to have some magnetic closures for that one as well. So this is what it's going to kind of look like. So now what we can do is go ahead and just glue these two pieces together and get our pockets sorted as well. So I'm going to use my liquid glue for this. Now, if I wasn't using this as a pocket, I'd probably use some red liner tape, just because I want this to stay together and sort of, you know, to last a really good amount of time if they want to use it over and over again. But because we're turning this into a pocket onto this piece here, I'm literally just going to add glue along the 3 sides. So we're going to do top and bottom, and then along the fold line as well. And the good thing about using liquid glue here for your pockets is it is going to dry. If you use tape, that isn't necessarily going to dry, so what you put inside the pocket might still catch. So I'm going to bring this piece over, so our first piece, over to our pocket. I'm going to fold it over. So obviously I'm not sticking it to the spine, I'm sticking it to the 6 1/4 inch panel here. And I'm just going to line it up. And with the liquid glue as well, it gives you just a little bit of wiggle room as well. So we want to make sure this is really well stuck down. Let's go to the inside. I'm going to bring out my bone folder. Just go back and forth, and again we want to make sure that we get that really well stuck down. So off this piece here where we've just created this pocket, I'm going to take just the tiniest amount off, just so it sits in there just a little bit better. Because when we come to put our magnets in, we want to make sure that this is really nice and square. So you're going to open it up. So you're going to have this piece. This is obviously going to be stuck down with a magnet. So you've got one piece, and then you've got two pieces just there. So our book is going to go here. Yeah, I think I'm just going to keep it in that orientation that I usually will do one, which is to open it this way. So we're going to have our pad is going to go here. We're going to do a pocket for this side. This is a pocket already. And then we're going to do this pocket just here. So this one's going to go in the same way that we glued down that one. Just like so. So again with this one, we're going to do along the three sides. So we're going to butt it up against the fold, but not put it on the fold. So we can bring that up. And we can sort of pinch it together a little bit just to make it easier to get the bits and pieces in and out. So we've got our pocket here. I'm not going to lift it too high because I want that glue to set. So we've got a pocket here. We've got a nice pocket here. We're going to do a pocket in here. So what I have got is our offcuts from when we trimmed the height of this. And this piece here in the centre is going to be 6 1/4 inch, which is what we would need for our pocket. So actually all I'm going to do is just trim off, and I'm going to trim off the score marks as well. And just make use of our scraps. So let's bring this one back in. And that's going to sit nicely in that piece there. So obviously you could use a high piece if you want a deeper pocket. I'm happy just to have a smaller pocket, and again then just use up some of these scrap pieces that we have. So again we're going to glue down 3 sides. And I'm going to butt it up to this left hand edge here. Obviously we don't want to put it right on our fold anyway. And it's going to be slightly shorter because obviously we cut off the score marks. So there we go, and then we have a nice little pocket there as well. So we've got our pad is going to go here. So let's just grab that. So our pad's going to go nicely in there. We've then got a little pocket side here. That's going to fold over. We've got a pocket, and then this is obviously going to be a closed pocket just for that bit. So what I want to do next is just create, so there's a couple ways that you could do this. Obviously you could glue just this in if you want it to be just a one-time use, but I really like the idea of being able to use this for the sake of like £1.30, you know, using this for Christmas, if you're making lots of Christmas lists, like I said before, whether that's food shopping, Christmas present shopping, Christmas card lists, things like that. You know, you could probably get through this pad nicely. You could put any appointments that you've got over Christmas, any plans, ideas and things like that. But you could have it again as a one-time thing. If I was to do that, I probably wouldn't bother with this side of things. I would literally just use the one sheet, which is, you know, just to have the cover and the flap like that. But I like the idea then, and again, in May's video, she did this as well, where I can't remember how she did it. I think she might have just put in an extra piece here. But again, I didn't want to have to cut into another sheet of white cardstock. So again, we're going to try and use our offcuts. And yeah, just create a way of sliding this in and out so the pad itself can be replaced. So what I was thinking, again, using some of these offcuts here is actually just creating 2 bands. You're not really going to see this because your pad is going to be covering it. And based on the sort of measurements and things, I don't think I would be covering this piece with cardstock anyway. This is the first time I've created this, so I might not in the end like how this looks, and I might want to do just a full panel, but I'm going to give it a go and really see what this kind of looks like. So I'm going to pop that to one side. So again, this is one of my scraps. So the width of this again needs to be 6 1/4 inch. So if we actually did this to 6 1/4, it's going to leave us our score mark there. But I think I'm just going to remove those score lines. And then so it's going to be just slightly under, and I'm going to do 2 like that. And the width of these are just under 3 inches. So let's bring back our folio. So what I'm hoping to do, yeah, so that's going to fit really nicely just inside those score marks. So we've got 2 options. Either we can just spread it out slightly, so we've got this small gap here, or of course we could just join it and make it look like it is one piece. But again, I don't hate the fact that, you know, we've got 2 pieces here. And again, the same for this, because we want the piece to slide all the way down it, we're literally going to do 2 beads of glue just on either side. And again, you know, red liner tape is a good option, but then you would risk potentially getting the book stuck when you come to pop it in. So I'm gonna just line it up with that top of where I've made that mark. If you want to be very precise, we could, so that's about 1 centimetre, like so. And I want to make sure that both of my folds still fold up nicely, which they do. So we're going to leave that one there. So we're going to make sure once again that this still closes as we need it to, which it does. And then I'm just going to leave those bits for the moment before we try putting our pad in, because I really do want that to obviously stay where they are. I want them to really dry nicely. So what we can do now is look at our closures. So I got these, I think I picked them up from Amazon. If I can find a link, I will put it down below. These are quite small. They're probably, yeah, about 1/4 inch, just over 1/4 inch for these. So what I'm thinking is I want it to be really nice and sturdy. I'm thinking probably 2 for this flap here, or this pocket, whoops. So I need 4 magnets for there. And again, because I want it to be really nice and secure, I'm actually thinking about doing 3 for the front closure. So for that, I will need 6. So that's 2, 6. So if anyone's got any links to any better water magnets. They are nice and thin, but unfortunately they don't have any adhesive on them. So I do put a little bit of red liner tape on. If anyone's got any suggestions of better magnets, self-adhesive magnets, or just you know, the best way to add magnets to a project, please let me know in the comment section down below. So I'm just going to go ahead now, I'm going to pop this to one side, and I'm going to get the double-sided tape. I'm going to be using red liner tape put onto our magnets. Okay, so I've got all of the tape on my magnets. So what we're going to do now is start with our little pocket here. So just turn this on its side. So we've got this one. And I'm thinking that I might round the corners of these. Let me get my corner puncher. Just to add a little something different to it. I actually do like the way that these look when they're rounded. I'm not too worried about kind of the pockets and things. I might do the flap as well, like so. Yeah, I might leave it at that for the moment, but when we come to decorate it, I can obviously change my mind. So with this one, we're just going to do the 2 magnets on here. Okay, so I made a mistake there. Putting it on the flaps first was wrong. I needed to pop it onto my pockets. As you can see, they didn't actually land on the pockets. So we're going to try that again, and we're going to add our magnets onto the actual pocket itself. Okay, so there's our magnet. So I'm not worried about where it's ripped and things. That's going to get covered by our paper, but that's going to just sit nicely. Now, these are a little closer to here than what I would like it to be. So potentially with this piece, I might go right up to the edge or put something decorative on it, because obviously we want to make sure that those bits stay. But obviously then if we've got anything, receipts or anything kind of important, you know, we can pop in here and then keep that nice and closed and secure. So I'm happy with that. So the next thing we need to do is pop these ones on the front. So I'm gonna have to pop just a little bit more tape onto these ones here. But this one obviously we can then add onto the flap because we know that it's gonna match up nicely. Okay, so taking the backings off here, so the most important thing we need to do now is make sure that this is nice and square. So this front piece here, we want it to come and be in the exact spot, because obviously once these are down, that is sort of it. We want it to be nice and squared. So just going to make sure this is where we, you know, absolutely want it to be, because this is where it's always going to come back to. It's always going to snap back to where our magnets are. So that's given this a really, really nice sort of firm piece. Obviously once our pad gets in the middle here, that's going to kind of just sort out that middle section. But yeah, you want to make sure that you get this, you know, squared up exactly how you want it to be. So here is our book. So what I've done is just added the matte and layer pieces onto here because I really needed to work out the measurements, and I have then just cut down all of my patterned pieces. We can go through the sizes and things like that. So we've got our magnets in, we've got our matte and layers, and it's really come into a really lovely little chunky book. It's still quite nice and sturdy, and then not forgetting that we're still adding another layer of patterned paper on top of this. So we just sort of walk through you know, what it looks like so far. So we've got our sides, the spines I've just covered in this grey. I'm not going to be putting patterned paper on that because it's just going to be far too small. So we've got our magnetised flap just here. And then when we open it up, so I have added my pad in here. So if you are going to be recreating this for yourself, there's a few things just to note with putting your pad in, and also a few things that I need to be aware of, and maybe next time I look at creating another one of these, because I do want to do it slightly differently, is definitely we're going to have to look at this again. I hadn't actually put this in before now, so what I did is, if I just lift it open, so we've got our two kind of panels in here to hold it down, and just the way with it looking and then the rest of it with the patterned paper, I did decide to cover it with just a single layer. I'm not adding patterned paper to this because I don't think it needs it, but at least it just looks a little nicer being decorated. So obviously we cut these to 6 inches because that was what was going to fit within our space. I did struggle a little bit, obviously where we sort of put our glue in here, I did sort of struggle to get this in, so I did chop literally just off the back piece a small amount. You can kind of sort of see where I've cut that down just to get it through, but in a few areas it has sort of lifted the edges. I did re-glue this bit here, so I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to get this back out, but that's okay for this particular book. So what I'm thinking is either we need to make this panel, which is 6 1/4 inch, we need to make it slightly bigger again, but that means then we're having to adjust the sizes for the other pieces as well, or what I was thinking is I think it's okay to cut down this back piece, but if you're giving this as a gift, it's whether somebody would know to do that to sort of get it in. So we want it to go in as easy as possible, but we still need it there to support the book and hold it in place. So I'm wondering whether it needs to be slightly bigger and whether it just needs to be pinched a little bit to have a little bit more space, whether it needs to have just a small little you know, like a tiny little piece in it, an extra piece, just to give it a little extra space. I'm not 100% sure. Let me know any suggestions in the comment section down below. My kind of initial reaction really is that this panel needs to be slightly bigger. So I'm thinking probably another 1/4 inch, so making it 6 1/2 inches. Again, that's going to throw off all the other measurements. But obviously it really depends what size your notebook actually is. So that's my initial thought, whereas then this panel here would be 6 1/4 inches, and then, you know, it's going to fit that in there. That's my initial kind of gut reaction with this. So I'm definitely gonna look at this again when I come to create another one. Whether I make another video on it or not, probably will, to be honest, and we can kind of make that adjustment with those adjusted sizes. So just keep that in mind if you are going to be recreating this one. So then moving across, obviously we have got our pocket just here, so obviously things can be added into here really nice and easily, so I'm happy about that. So you've kind of got this little section here, and again, like I said before, you could literally just have it as being that, and that being your closure if you wanted to, not have anything too much more going on with it, but again, I kind of wanted to have all of those areas. If you're just creating a regular sort of wrapped notebook, really, I think that would be enough. But again, with this being like a Christmas one, like I said before, put in all your Christmas bits and bobs in here, I think yeah, I think this makes a really nice addition, kind of adding these two pieces. So we also have then our pocket on this side. So just bits and pieces can be put in there. Maybe if you've been given a Christmas wish list, you know, by the kids, you can kind of put those in there. So again, you've got loads of space in there. Anything that you see, maybe that's in like a magazine or something like that, print off, you can use that space for that. And then obviously over here we have then our additional pocket again, which then slips in this side. And this one, yeah, has then those magnets. So again, you can keep receipts and things like that in there. Any coupons maybe you've got that you are collecting, any gift vouchers, things like that that you want to use around Christmas time. Because it's got that flap, you know, then it's going to be safe and it's magnetized, you know, so it is going to sort of fold back down nicely. So I used some of the coordinating papers that go with the patterned paper pad. A bunch of colours in here. Everyone is sort of next to each other is slightly different, just to make things a little more interesting. But yeah, I'm really loving how this is looking at the moment. Again, the structure of it I think is great, and again, we're only adding more paper on top of this, so it's going to make it even stronger. So like I said, I've got my patterned paper pieces here. I've got ones I've already notched, rounded the corners of the ones that I needed to. And we've got, you know, patterns and sort of like the gnomes and things in there. We have got some bits and pieces where we could decorate as well, so we can have a look at that on there also. So why don't we start just with the front cover. So yeah, I did just label the pieces just so I didn't get too confused, and we will go over some of the sizes. Some of them are a little odd, but we can make this work. So let's just start off with our back cover for the minute. So I picked this one here, which was one of the pieces from the 12 by 12, and I have already put tape on the back of all of these, but I'm using double-sided tape here because the paper is a little thinner. The last time I used the insert papers, which is some of these are the insert papers from the collection, it did ripple the paper, and I think that was something that I created back last year on another folio, and I was kind of disappointed really because yeah, I absolutely loved how it turned out, but the paper's rippled, so decided to use double-sided tape for these. Then for our front piece, we've got this lovely double gnome here with the presents. So again, let's just take these off. So I didn't give you the sizes, sorry. So for the back and the front, both the same. The matting layers, so the actual pieces are 6 1/4 by 8 3/4. Your matte layer is going to be 8 1/2 inches tall by 6. And then your patterned paper is 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. So with the A4 sheets, which was the inserts, which are these ones, I didn't have to trim anything off the top. It was literally just trimming the width of it. So there we have our back. And then we have our front here, and then we've got our two flaps. So this is our front, so this is matching the paper that is on that back piece. I didn't want to cut into every single different piece. There's only obviously so many designs, but you know, I want to use up some of the scraps and things like that as well. So we can pop this one on here. And what I love about using these collections is all of the coloured cardstock as well. That all matches in with the designs. It's designed to work perfectly. So that's that piece. And then, yeah, we've got this piece here. So again, not forgetting to round the corners to match what we've already done. So with these two flap pieces, again, same for front and back. This was, again, the 8 3/4 height by, I believe it was 2 inches. Yeah, so 2 inches. So our plain paper is going to be 8 1/2 by 1 3/4, and then our patterned paper is 8 1/4 inches high by 1 1/2 inches wide. So we'll get that one on there. And again, then, you know, our magnets are still working through that double layer of patterned paper. So let's come into this piece. So like I said, not putting anything on our strips here, that's going to be left blank, and then these pieces are going to be left blank here as well. Let me just bring in my lights a little bit. So then we've got this piece just down here. So for this bit, I cut this lovely panel here, and then we have got our little skating gnome there. So let's take the piece off this. So with these pages now, so the width is going to be the same, which is 6 1/4. So our plain paper here is 6 inches by, let's just see what this came out to. So this was 2 5/8, and then I think I cut this to be, yeah, 2 3/8 wide. Let me just check that again. 2 5/8, yeah, and then the width pattern paper is 2 3/8, again by 5 3/4. Just make sure we get that on there nicely. So there's that piece. For this piece here, again, it was the 6 inches across. And then for this one, it came in at 5 9/16. So I just kind of guessed with these. So again, we got 5 3/4 for our patterned paper by 5 3/8. So, you know, it doesn't have to be absolutely spot on. I just want to get the border sort of as close as possible, the same or on all the different panels. So we can add our skating gnome. Like so, and again, maybe we can pop some pieces in here, you know, so if you were giving this to somebody, they knew that you know, yeah, that was a pocket in there. So our gnome very well might get covered, but that's okay, you know, it's just to decorate it nicely. Before we move on to the next bit, we're going to decorate this front piece. So you could choose to cut this off if you wanted to, but I actually think it's going to be nice and it's going to fit in nicely if we add just a cover to the front of it, and it will protect then the paper inside the pad. So I'm gonna just find the easiest way to do this. I'm gonna line it up with the bottom first. Like so. Make sure it's nicely lined up, and then I purposely left it with the black gap. So back round, yeah, so with that black gap at the top. But now, you know, it just looks like a nice like padded area, I think. So again, you can go right up to the top if you wanted to, but I decided just to leave that black binding just on show there. So that is that section. And then if we flip over, let's just move my little pile here. So we've got this section here. So let's start at this end. Yep, so this is our pocket flap here, and I give you the measurements. So again, with these, they are going to be all of these here, because they are 8 3/4. The patterned paper is 8 1/2. Sorry, our plain paper is 8 1/2, and then our patterned paper here is 8 1/4 inch. So the width on this one, so the actual width of the flap itself is yeah, 3 1/2. So our patterned paper is 3 1/4. Sorry, our plain paper is 3 1/4, and our patterned paper is 3 inches there. And again, the same here. So our plain paper is going to be 8 1/2 by 3 1/4. And then the piece we put in here, yeah, so we've done this spotty one. Again, you just want to break up some of the patterns with some plainer ones or some more sort of elaborate ones. So let's pop this one in. And again, this piece for the patterned paper. Let's just make sure we get that nice and centered. 8 1/4 by 3 inches. So that's our flap for our pocket. I believe, let's just make sure we get these right. Pocket front, that's it. So that one's going to go there and that one's going to go there. So then we've got this piece here. Again, our plain paper is going to be 8 1/2 inches tall, making our patterned paper 8 1/4, and I give you the width. Now, the only thing I don't like about double-sided tape is obviously, you know, it's harder to pull up if you needed to. So our plain paper is 2 1/8, making our patterned paper 1 7/8. So again, I usually prefer to work in 1/4 of an inch, as I say all the time. But sometimes you just got to make it work, you know, with what you need it to be. Again, because I was basing my measurements around the pad, obviously it made things slightly more difficult. So this piece here, this is our pocket front. So this is 3 1/2, just double check that. So the plain paper, yeah, is 3 1/2 inches wide. By 8 1/2 inches tall, making our patterned paper, what did I just say? So the plain paper is 3 1/2 by 8 1/2, making then our patterned paper 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. I believe. And then so the last two pieces here, let's just do the measurements for these. So our plain paper here is 2 1/4 by 8 1/2, making our patterned paper here 2 again by 8 1/2 for that piece. And then that's the pocket as well. And then this grey piece here is 3 1/2. So that'll be 3 1/2 by 8 1/2, making this 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. But you know, once you've made, really it's not so much about the measurements for the patterned paper and, you know, where I've done the matte and layers, then it really is more about the actual measurement of the book, the folio itself, because everyone you know, matte and layers slightly differently to different measurements. Like I've said a couple times now, I like to do 1/4 of an inches just because it's easy math. I don't want to have to really think about it too much. So people like to have wider borders, thinner borders than that. So yeah, it's really more so about your own personal preference to what you like. So there we have all of our pieces covered. So again, if we just close it, so this is a really nice sturdy book. I can actually tell you how much this weighs with the pad in here. So that's 384 grams that this weighs. So it's a really nice sturdy sturdy weighted book, and I think, yeah, I think it's great. I absolutely love it. So again, you can open it, so you can choose obviously sort of how you open it. What you could do as well, like if you didn't want this to open straight away, you could have some sort of fasten in here if you wanted to, something that will you know, keep it closed together. So literally when you open it, you're opening it just straight like that. Again, if you, like I said, if you wanted to have not so much fuss going on with it, something more simple, you could literally just have, you know, this here where it opens and it just opens onto your pad. You could make your gusset slightly wider and you could add a pen. I'm pretty sure in May's video, she had a pen with hers, which she just put in with a piece of ribbon, which I think is really cool. If I was to do, again, just this with the book opening, a pen I think would be a really great addition in there. But as I said, you've got, you know, your pocket just in there, your magnetised pocket, and then you've got this pocket here. So if I was giving this as a gift to somebody, I think what I would do, obviously I have loads of bits and pieces to decorate, so I might have a little look and see if there's anything. Obviously a lot of these are quite busy, so at best maybe just some sentiments, but what you might want to do is just add a couple of things in here, so people knew that, you know, they were actual pockets. So whether it was just some little notes or something, you know, yeah, whatever it might be, you could just add a few things in so people knew they were pockets, not just you know, that we have sort of split that out. You could adjust this again, and rather than having, you know, maybe like you wouldn't want this pocket here. Obviously this pocket here is made from attaching the two pieces together, but if you didn't want to have that, or maybe you didn't want to have this pocket down here and you just wanted this one, you could then create like a waterfall thing that came up that people could write in, you know, so you had then like your book on one side and you had that on the other. So adding a few things might be quite beneficial to someone who, you know, wouldn't maybe know what to do with this kind of straight away. But I absolutely love how this has come out. Yeah, and it's always nice to try and use then I don't know how many things I've created now using this paper kit. I might go back through and just create a little bit of a playlist maybe, just for this gnome set. We really need to kind of get going through this because I've just got so much of it left, and not just this kit as well, lots of other kits from Paper Boutique and the likes. So yeah, this is my Christmas, let's say Christmas planner folio, again with our pockets and our pad. So I absolutely love this. So I will try to include what I can down in the description box down below. As I said at the beginning of the video when we were actually creating the folio, is I will create just a additional video to go with this rather than making this video any longer, showing you how to create the same sort of thing. It's going to be slightly different, but the same sort of folio, but using 12 by 12 papers. I don't know that I'm going to decorate it and add the book into here, into that one, sorry, but I'll show you at least just the measurements, so it'll be a much shorter video for you to watch if again you want to create it from 12 by 12 papers. But yeah, so that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think about our little Christmas planner folio, and that's going to be it for this video. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.